Welcome, my 186 subscribers, all of you who haven't given up on AEW yet, after the backstage scrum, and to fans of fantasy TV shows. I also do reviews of those for House of the Dragon and for Rings of Power, go check those out. Welcome to another special Dynamite, but this one it's 3 weeks after the last one. Or by the last one, I mean the pay-per-view. It's been a significantly more number of weeks than usual from one special Dynamite to another. So yeah, welcome to my review of AEW Dynamite Grand Slam for the September 21, 2022 show. Let's begin. Okay, so Dynamite Grand Slam tonight was very fun. It had great matches, but just like every other Dynamite we've had this year, it's been plagued with just like bad booking decisions, as well as some poorly done finishes. Okay, so I'll talk about that later as I go through the matches. So yeah, let's start with the first one. So it's Claudio Castagnoli versus Chris Jericho for the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight Championship. So it's nice that the heel actually follows the Code of Honor. They have like this tense handshake, but it is followed all the same. So they start the match off with a strike battle. Though it's more of like one-sided. Claudio like beats the shit out of Jericho with some European uppercuts. And then we get spot of the match candidate where Claudio throws Jericho onto the ropes. It's like a military press throw and then Jericho lands crotch first on the ropes. This match isn't very technical for like a Ring of Honor match. Like this would have been a better spot to do one of those matches than on a pay-per-view where people are like tired. But yeah, these two go for a hard-hitting power-based match instead. And the story is Chris Jericho like sullying the honor of Ring of Honor. Jericho uses Kerry Silkin, who's like a former owner of Ring of Honor, as a human shield against Claudio. I think he was the owner when the Bucks, Claudio, and like all the other guys who are in the WWE now were working for Ring of Honor. And yeah, not all the fans would get this. I think only if you're like a Ring of Honor fan or if you read their Young Bucks book will you get this thing they're going for. And I'm falling on the latter of that. And yeah, in addition to this, Chris Jericho just cheats the whole match, while Claudio is just spamming his uppercuts. There's also some awesome selling, like especially after another spot in the match candidate, which is like a suplex by Jericho to Claudio from the apron to the floor. And it looks like Jericho doesn't get like full lift. It's more of like snap. So Jericho also goes down horizontally. And they both fall, but it looks like it hurts more for Claudio. He does sell it very well. Claudio like rolls around in pain on the floor, which is a believable sell, rather than getting like knocked out or something. And then when they get back in the ring, we get a lot of corner strikes. Like a lot of corner attacks, but this sets up to, I think, the spot of the match. This one here was incredible because Jericho goes for this like avalanche Hurricane Rana. He usually does this now in every match, but here, Claudio stops him. He gets him in like a powerbomb position, avalanche powerbomb position from the second rope on the turnbuckle. He's like seated on the top. And then when he goes for the avalanche powerbomb, Claudio just does all the work here. Because Claudio gets Jericho up like, just imagine like a powerbomb maneuver. Jericho goes up. And then on the way down, he does like a Hurricane Rana and then Claudio like flips and then takes a bump on his back. It was pretty unsuspected, but it might be the best sell for like one of these that we've had in a long time. And it's the only one that's like a counter to a powerbomb. And I think only Claudio can manage to make this move work, first of all, and look very good. And then Claudio does some more of his like painful lower back selling. And then this is followed by an also impressive, but I don't know if it breaks the top three. It might just get to number 3 though. It's like a pop-up European uppercut. And then we get the first low blow attempt by Chris Jericho. And I like how Claudio catches this. He like does a cross arm sort of catch of the kick. He looks at Jericho for a long time and then delivers a Ricola bomb. And great near fall. Like for a TV match, this is when you would expect the pinfall to happen, but thankfully it didn't. The match goes on and the crowd is on fire at this point. And just what a unique way to catch a kick for the low blow, or just any kick. but it also might be a little unnecessary. But it's alright, especially for what happens after. And then Jericho delivers one of his best code breakers, like relative to what he can do now and not to what he did back then. But it's like a one-legged code breaker, and Jericho like takes a bump after. But I don't think he should be doing this anymore. It's not good for his back, and it just doesn't look as good as the old ones do. Even the one against like Kenny Omega in Wrestle Kingdom. It just looks a bit awkward and slow now, so yeah. Could have done without this. And then we get a Walls of Jericho spot that's countered, I think, in a very unique fashion. Unique but also a bit unbelievable. Because Jericho had to like roll himself back out of this one. Like this counter to the walls just isn't that believable. Like no man, even if you're Claudio, can like just roll up your opponent from a position where you're like on your back, legs up, and that's just impossible. And then this sets up the big swing, or like the giant swing as the announcers call it. And Claudio goes for like about 19. I counted 19, but it could be 19 or 20. So I'm gonna do like a range thing, about 19 to 20 of these. And then we get the finishing sequence, which at first was pretty cool because Jericho pulls out his bat from under the ring. He tries to hit Claudio, and then Claudio stops this, like similar to the way he stopped the kick. It's like a cross-handed catch. He throws the bat away. Claudio then goes for like the Ricola bomb again, but Jericho like flips him over. He flips him over and then Claudio lands like just normally. He manages to like become stable right away, which I think they weren't going for this. I think he was supposed to like get launched off, run into Aubrey, make her face the other way, and then Jericho delivers the Judas effect. But yeah, this looked really bad, and I think it's because Claudio landed on his heels instead of his toes. For me, this would have made sense if he landed on his toes. He did the like unstable run towards Aubrey Edwards, which gets her facing the other way. But it kind of looked more like Claudio landed on his heels and then he remembered to do like the run at Aubrey, and then it just looked very awkward. If you watch it yourself, it looked very bad, and I think it could be included in like a Botchamania or something. But yeah, this set up a low blow. Jericho delivers like a Judas effect off of the ropes and then wins the match 1-2-3. Chris Jericho is an 8-time world champion, and it's his first time to win the Ring of Honor championship ever. And yeah, I think the ending kind of sucked a bit. I mean, not how it was booked, but how it was executed by the dudes in the ring. So Claudio gets a bit of blame here, but I think this is an awesome booking decision. I think when they kept pushing it that Jericho's never won a Ring of Honor championship, he wants his 8th title, that sort of increased his chances for me of like winning the match, and I actually kind of wanted him to win. So yeah, he does win. It's a big surprise to most of the fans. I've seen a lot of people hate this move, but for me, I'm all for it. It's a nice feather on Jericho's cap, and it gives Claudio like motivation to go after something. He was getting a bit stale, like just being a champion that wrestles good matches, just challenges people on Rampage. I think this could like get more people into Rampage, as well as have a compelling storyline with someone else. So yeah, this match for me is a TV main event pay-per-view undercard match. It would have been like a pay-per-view undercard match only if that ending botch didn't happen, but it did, so it gets this score. So as for the top 3 spots of the match, number 3 is the pop-up European uppercut. Number 2 is the suplex off of the apron to the floor, and the top spot of the match has to be the Avalanche Hurricanrana countered into a powerbomb, countered into an Avalanche Hurricanrana again, and it's executed during the powerbomb motion. So yeah, great match, terrible ending, but it opens up Dynamite very well, and then we had Chris Jericho win his first Ring of Honor championship that I think got the fans to forgive the ending a bit, but not me. I still hate that fucking ending. So after this, we get like a video sort of hype up package for Mox and Danielson, like for the whole tournament. And it's alright, it does its job, but it doesn't contribute much to the whole story. It's just purely a hype up. So after this is the course correction, as a lot of people are calling it, but I think this should not have happened right away. It should have been a longer storyline between the Acclaimed, going through the entire division in order to get their rematch. But when they get their rematch, it's going to be against FTR, and I think the Acclaimed should have been the ones to beat FTR and not the other way around. I think FTR should have beaten Swerve and Keith and held all of those tag team championships. And that puts the Acclaimed in a more underdog position than what they were right now. And it would have meant more. But yeah, we could also get FTR winning first and then the Acclaimed taking it back. But yeah, who knows? All I know is that FTR are going to take the belts off of the Acclaimed. That's for damn sure. So yeah, as for this match, I think the match at the pay-per-view was better. It was less predictable than this one, since this one we pretty much know the Acclaimed are taking the belts, and this just wasn't as exciting as that one. But this match had like the perfect combination of booking and match quality. So that's why I think this is the match of the night. So the Acclaimed make their entrance. Max Caster goes for a pretty like shock value rap. It's alright. It's not as clever as the ones he did before, but this popped the crowd. And speaking of popping the crowd, they start the match like with the usual holds, yes, but Keith Lee Hurricanrana's Anthony Bowens. And it's not even like a counter. Keith Lee actually goes for a Hurricanrana. And then we get the weight working with Matt Caster. It's a lot shorter here because he's lifted Keith Lee before, but it's still pretty cool to watch. And then we just have Swerve going heel. He's like full heel in the match as like Keith Lee is trying to like calm him the fuck down. He even shoots Anthony Bowens with like his hair fucking band. I think that's what you call it. And then they start going after Max Caster's legs. It'll play in later in the match. But in one of those occasions, it's kind of like a negative because that would have been the perfect way to end the match. And then Caster just falls over before he does his finisher. But we'll get to that later. But Swerve and Our Glory then cut the ring in half. They do a pretty good job at it. It's a lot more dynamic than usual. And the way Max Caster, the babyface, gets back control was pretty epic. He takes out both Swerve and Keith, and even manages to suplex Keith this time. And yeah, there were a lot of super kicks here. Like both Caster and Bowens did super kicks. That's gonna piss off the old fans. But Swerve and Our Glory managed to take control again, and they set Anthony Bowens up with their finisher. But he manages to like stall Swerve Strickland enough in order to Hurricanrana Keith Lee. But this sequence feels so much like NXT. The old black and gold NXT, like the good old days. Because we have like 3 counters to like some pretty big moves successively. Because after the Hurricanrana, Swerve misses the stomp, Bowens then goes for the pin, Swerve kicks out, and then Bowens turns it into a buckle bomb, and then he's headbutted by Keith Lee. It's like a long sustained sequence of counter moves that all make sense and are high impact. That's what I remember from NXT back then. Like, you don't see the counters coming, but when they happen, they take your breath away. And that's what happened here. And so then Keith Lee like throws Anthony Bowens outside the ring through the top rope, and then he just lands outside. This doesn't dent the ramp yet, but the effect of the moving LCD road on the ramp is a nice visual. And if this actually was like a moving ramp, Bowens would be halfway onto the stage by now. But yeah, taking that bump would probably hurt more. So yeah, Keith Lee does a moonsault, he misses. And as Max Caster is like bringing him up, Swerve accidentally hits Keith with a boombox that they came in with earlier. He hits him like on the shoulder. It should be like a head hit. But the point is, I think this is how they should have ended the match. Keith Lee would be protected, and I think Swerve is like the bigger potential star. And the Acclaimed were like going for like a 2-sided diving attack. It's like a blockbuster from Anthony Bowens and then a mic drop for Max Caster. But Max Caster sells his leg that he hasn't sold for a while, and this kind of takes away from the match. Yeah, like if Max Caster just hit the mic drop here, this would have been like an acceptable ending. It wouldn't be as overbooked as the ending will get. But yeah, they play it off for drama, and this would have worked more if like Caster sold the leg more. I kind of forgot that Swerve worked on the leg, but it's not as good as like how Bowen sold his leg back in the pay-per-view. But yeah, the match goes on. Swerve delivers some nice kicks. Just how he changes direction midair. This guy has all the potential in the world. But yeah, after this, they go for some double T moves. They go for this one that I didn't understand the first time. It's like a fireman carry drop into pounce that didn't connect well. Never do this move again. It looks so bad and sort of disappointing because of the fireman carry position, and then you just like land him on his leg standing up as Keith goes for like a Monty Brown pounce. But yeah, it doesn't work, and then they do a move that does work. It's like an electric chair sort of like pass into a power bomb by Swerve, and this looks so much better. The crowd reacted loudly for both moves, and I think the match started getting a bit messy here. Swerve and Keith started to become a lot more like all over the place. It's like they weren't doing their moves properly, but this move right here, like I thought was supposed to be like a 450 splash outside, but Swerve doesn't get the full motion, and then it turns into a 450 stomp instead into Bowens and Caster. And yeah, this looked very good, but pretty dangerous. This would have been alright if it was just like a 450 splash. But yeah, it looks like Swerve failed successfully. This did look a lot better than a 450 splash. And so then we get the finish. And I think it's a way of protecting Swerve. It does get a big pop since Billy Gunn delivers like a fame-asser to Swerve outside. And I think this would have been better if it was just like a clean finish, since Swerve and Our Glory won the match at the pay-per-view cleanly. And it's also like another use of referee incompetence, doesn't spot the interference, and cost the guy defending the title the win. And I don't think you should do it in like straight matches. But yeah, they do it, and the crowd pops all the same. It's the win they'll remember. So yeah, Anthony Bowens does his sidewalk slam, and then Max Caster ends the match with a mic drop for the win. And then Keith Lee tries to save Swerve one last time, but Anthony Bowens just like body blocks him. It's like a European uppercut. And so the Acclaimed are the new AEW Tag Team Champions. And so yeah, for the top 3 spots of the match, number 3 is Keith Lee's Hurricane Rana. Nice way to start the match. It pops the crowd and it sets a tone. And then for number 2, it's Max Caster escaping from the ring cut in half thing. It ends with a suplex to Keith, the crowd going insane, and then a tag out to Anthony Bowens. And then for the top spot of the match, I think it's the sequence where Anthony Bowens just like counters all of the moves and gets headbutted by Keith Lee at the end. And yeah, top spot could have been like a finish where after Keith Lee's hit with like a boombox, they go for like double dives and then win. That would have been the best finish, but it didn't happen. So yeah, in another dimension, in another reality, that would have been top spot of the match if it happened. So yeah, great match. It's not as good as the one at the pay-per-view, since that was a lot more unexpected. It was a lot more organic. It didn't feel like a match made to like correct it, but it's still like a very good match and is the best match so far. It's a pay-per-view undercard only level of match. I don't think I've given that grade yet, like officially. That's like the second highest in my like list. So yeah, we get the pink Acclaimed confetti. Keith and Swerve are looking like they're gonna break up as a team, and then we go straight to FTR, who challenge the Acclaimed but get stopped by the Gun Club. And the Gun Club makes some pretty shitty dad jokes, and they mock the shit out of FTR, and I fucking like this. It's about time someone mock the FTR for like the top guys out thing. So yeah, we're gonna get this feud first before FTR are gonna go for the AEW Tag Championships. They're gonna get 4 sets of titles now. And yeah, at least the Acclaimed will get like a decent run up to the next pay-per-view, but FTR have to take it. And then eventually like have the Acclaimed reclaim it from FTR. But yeah, the Young Bucks should take it first, FTR takes it back, and then the Acclaimed take it from both of them, crowning the Acclaimed as like the future of AEW. That has to happen. The Acclaimed have to beat the Bucks and FTR in a match. Or like add the Briscoes in there. Have the Acclaimed beat all of them in a match. So yeah, after this we get like one of the only segments of this entire show because again, it's more of like a pay-per-view than anything. But yeah, it's Wheeler Yuta giving his opinion or like cutting a promo. It's a setup as a Wheeler Yuta promo in order to address the finals of the AEW Championship tournament. But he's instantly, like right away, interrupted by MJF, who the crowd just cheer for. And you could see why, because the gap between MJF and Wheeler Yuta, even if like they used to work in the same company at one point, I think. I mean, like not in AEW, but in the Indies. I think they started out together, but their paths diverged because MJF is just that damn good. And so I love MJF's approach to like fans cheering the heel over a babyface. Just this. He calls them fucking devil worshippers because MJF is the devil. And then he goes pretty deep because he says that anyone of his devil worshippers would gladly drink his spit and let him fuck their wives. And to just put the icing on the cake, to put the fucking cherry on top, he insults all of their wives by saying that he has standards. And yeah, he manages to maintain this level of crowd enthusiasm for what he says because he keeps it real like the entire time. He like breaks the fourth wall a bit. He's certainly the most self-aware wrestler in the entire company. He actually feels a bit like Deadpool because the man like reads the internet too much and then he sort of like says this. He like makes it clear that he reads the internet because he says that the winner of the tournament for the AEW Championship is winning to lose to him. And that's kind of true. That's what we all expect. And that's like a nice thing to point out by MJF. And let's face it, it's like an inevitability at this point. It's a statement that works in and out of kayfabe. And then he buries the shit out of the Blackpool Combat Club, calling them like the Blackpool Cuckold Club. He points out all of the glaring weaknesses of each member. Danielson for his concussions, Moxley for being crazy. This isn't really like an insult. He came out of this the least scathed. And then William Regal for being a pill popper. And he leaves out Claudio, which is interesting. But yeah, Wheeler slaps the shit out of him, getting a big crowd pop. MJF shoves him, and then as Tony Schiavone is like trying to like keep the peace, since he's like, I think now known as like a backstage leader. He's now a conciliator backstage. MJF shoves him too, and then this turns him heel. Wheeler tries to defend Tony, but he only manages to get like a mount. And this doesn't look the most convincing. It's a bit repetitive, just like the same punch by Wheeler instead of like finding gaps in MJF's defense. But yeah, this is stopped by W. Morrissey, and then Wheeler is taken out with a ring shot by MJF. And so yeah, this whole thing was a really good encounter. This shines a big light on Wheeler Yuta, since he finally got to talk. It gives us a good history of MJF and Wheeler, since they were both like in the indies together. He said like, you left us, like Wheeler told MJF that you left us. But I don't like the things that came out of Wheeler's mouth. It doesn't make sense. It was also a bit heelish, since he tried to go for an MJF and tries to like insult his engagement. It's like MJF spits out truths and then Wheeler is just spitting out baseless things. He says MJF's fiance will know how much of like a spineless, worthless piece of human garbage he is. But the woman just got engaged with him, so it doesn't make sense. Try again, Wheeler. But his delivery is like better than what I've seen before. He just needs to like modify his voice a bit. So this was a very good segment that not only starts a thing between MJF and Wheeler, we're probably gonna have a match next week, but it also hypes up the match later on in the night, where we'll see MJF again. So after this is like a Jade Cargill promo that was filmed earlier on in the day. And it's between Jade and like her baddies against Diamante, her opponent, for I forgot when. We haven't really seen Diamante, so not the right opponent for a special Dynamite. And then she brings in this person, this rapper, I think, that I don't know. Just like the rest of the rappers who they bring out in the show. I don't know these people, so I'm not that invested. So yeah, I'm not into this feud since we haven't seen Diamante like at all, like on Dynamite since ever. I don't know these rappers, and if Diamante lasts longer than Athena, I don't know. It's gonna be a bad decision. Diamante after Athena lost to Jade in like 5 minutes should last like maybe 3 or 4, or like get squashed immediately if like Jade is portrayed that strongly. So after this is Pac versus Orange Cassidy for the All Atlantic Championship. So I expected this to be a show stealer, and I still stand by my opinion that this should have been a show stealer because if you think of Pac, you think of like a Will Ospreay-esque sort of dude. He can do what Will does, and we've already seen Orange in a match against Ospreay, and it was amazing. It was a show stealer, and it literally stole the show back in Forbidden Door. But they don't do that here. They sort of set something up in the future. Pac doesn't win cleanly, and they emphasize the fact that Orange Cassidy has never beaten Pac before. So yeah, eventually I think Orange will beat Pac for the title. I don't think Pac has any problems losing to Orange anyway. Like, he literally oversold the Orange Punch. So yeah, that's the story we're going for, and then they go for a storytelling match. And the story here is that Orange Cassidy does his usual shit, but it doesn't work. It gets him beaten up. For like 8 minutes, it's Pac control. Orange does like a little bit of stuff, but Pac has control. And I just like to point out the Filipinos in the front row, or is it second, but they're holding like a Philippine flag. And it's nice to see that I'm not the only Filipino fan of AEW. That like we span all over the world. And that the Facebook group that I'm in, that includes only like about 100 people, aren't the only AEW fans from my country. So yeah, good job representing. Now back to the match. So I was a bit disappointed that the match was like super slow. Like when I first watched it while multitasking, I was like, what the hell's happening here? Why is Pac just doing rest holds for like 8 minutes? But then when I rewatched with focus now, I picked up on the story and I figured out that it's Pac beating on Orange Cassidy's non-serious ass. And people really hate Orange's like soft kicks that he does, but it's like mind games. It's a way to like distract Pac, but in this case it doesn't work since Pac already knows Orange Cassidy like in and out. So the match picks up at like 6 minutes. They finally go for grapple moves, mostly Pac. Orange does his like usual shit, but it just makes Pac matter and then hit him harder. It was actually kind of pathetic. So Orange gets destroyed for about 2 more minutes until he finally takes control for the first time. He goes for a stun dog millionaire, an outside dive, and then multiple DDTs that Pac sells like incredibly well. He does like the Zack Sabre Jr. like headstand. He like forms a bridge or like a U with his back, but it's to sell something. Orange does like 2 of these. He then goes for the Orange Punch, but Pac counters and then does like a fireman carry slam where he has to arch his back like this. But then Orange turns it into a pin, and then after Pac kicks out, like right away, Orange goes for an Orange Punch, but then Pac gets the rope break. And they both get a "This is awesome" chant. And I think this is the first one I've heard for the entire night, even if the match before this was a lot better. But this might have been near fall of the night. Okay, so then the finish happens, and it's another dirty one. It's another one where the ref doesn't see it, or like Pac conceals a hammer shot. Because he goes to like the timekeeper's table, he grabs the hammer, he like gets Orange in a headlock, and then hits him with a fucking hammer, knocking him out cold. He then throws him in the ring and then goes for the pin immediately. But I think it would have been better. It would have been a better ending. It would have also concealed Pac's crime if he like goes for a headlock and then like make it look like a punch that takes Orange out, throw him back in the ring, and then go for a black arrow. That would have made a lot more sense than just like doing this and making Bryce Remsburg look dumb. Because Bryce has evolved. Like, he's not dumb anymore like he used to be in like the first few years of AEW. But recently, especially during that MJF versus Wardlow match, he's gotten like a lot more serious. He also has a catchphrase. But yeah, Bryce suspects Pac all the way, so I expect a rematch. And I expect Orange to win it. But not yet. Maybe against Ethan Page. Because Ethan Page announced that he's going after the All-Atlantic Championship, which is a pretty low goal. He should have went after like TNT or something. But yeah, that might be Morrissey's, so we'll see what happens. But yeah, this match was okay. It's not the show stealer that I wanted, but it told a very good story and I really can't say it's bad. So yeah, for the spots of the match, number 3 is this sick outside dive that Pac barely hits, but this whole jump that he does is like so cool looking. Pac does a side jump and then lands in a sitting position. This was so fucking sick. I just wished it landed better, it got more contact, and then it might have gotten a higher score or a higher ranking. And then for the second spot of the match, it's Orange countering the Brutalizer with a pin. And then after Pac kicks out, Orange goes for the Orange Punch, goes for the pin, and then Pac gets a fucking near fall. That leads to the This Is Awesome chant. And as for the number 1 spot of the match, it's Orange Cassidy's diving catch DDTs that Pac sells awesomely. He does this twice right after each other with the same effect as the first one. So yeah, awesome spot. So I'm gonna give this match a grade of TV undercard, pay-per-view undercard level of match. It's just like too slow for my liking, especially with the people involved. And that finish, after all of the dirty finishes we've had, just doesn't sit right. For 3 straight matches. Okay, so next we have the Women's Championship match between Women's Champion Toni Storm versus Athena versus Serena Deeb versus Britt Baker. So this is the show stealer match of this show. They let the women have it, and they fucking deliver. Like initially the crowd was very quiet. I think it's a stigma now in AEW. But as the match goes on, they gain the crowd slowly. Because they go for some awesome shit here. The match does get a bit messy at points, but it has everything I like in an AEW multi-man match. Because first, they manage to involve everyone. Number 2, it's a show stealer, so they go for some awesome shit. Some unique stuff that I've never seen ever. And one part that's like oddly sexual, but it's alright. We have a referee distraction that makes sense because there's 4 of them in the ring. Rebel can just do what she wants outside because the ref is too busy like watching over all 4 of them. The referee Paul Turner. And yeah, I just have to commend. Serena Deeb and Athena are the best wrestlers in this match. They do the coolest shit and they get the loudest pops. Britt and Toni, on the other hand, just get their asses kicked. And mostly Toni Storm gets her ass kicked. She kind of reminds me of like Finn Balor. When his moveset was like very limited, he like sold a lot, but we just loved him because of his character and just like the way he moves. That's kind of like Toni Storm in this match. And God knows how she won. Because she barely did any cool shit. The people who did cool shit, and I think I get the rationale now, I think Toni stole the win. Like, Serena Deeb and Athena did all the work. And especially Athena, because if you go by kayfabe, and if you don't note the fact that Britt had her nose broken for real by Athena after that botched, like, fall-away slam, you could say that Athena did all the work in weakening Britt Baker enough to get pinned for the win. And yeah, I guess that's how I'll interpret it. But yeah, Toni, based on what she did here, did not deserve to retain the championship. I'm sorry. If it's anyone, it's either Deeb or Athena. They were fucking awesome. And I love the like power bomb into a code breaker by Athena. This is like the best move she has. Aside from the Eclipse, of course. But yeah, she does this, she goes for the pin, and then Deeb breaks up the pin. And it's so close. We even get a facial shot of Athena. Like just realizing how close she is from winning the championship. I hope this starts a feud. And then she throws Serena out, and Serena does an awesome bump outside. And so the finish of the match is a tornado DDT by Toni Storm. That's sold really well by Athena. She almost does like a Shawn Michaels here. It's kind of an oversell. And so then Britt goes for a pin. Toni counters it to another pin, and then she wins 1, 2, 3. And this was a bit abrupt. It's a flash pin, but I think it does the job of like establishing Toni. But she could have looked a lot stronger than she did here. Yeah, Deeb and Athena were just so much better. I think they should have won. So yeah, for the spots of the match, I'm gonna have to pick 3 among so many. So shit, number 3 is this weird sexual pin that Serena does. She pins both Toni and Athena at the same time. And yeah, I've never seen this before. Innovative shit here. Really good. Next is this whole sequence by Serena Deeb, where she just destroys everyone. And at the end, it looks like Toni Storm can counter, but she stumbles and then Serena turns this into a spinning DDT. This spot really belongs to the double fall-away slam, but someone got hurt there. I think Athena is too small to do the move without hurting anyone. So yeah, that is gonna go to like honorable mention. And then for the number 1 spot of the match, it's the powerbomb codebreaker, where Athena sets it up first, and then she's shot up by Toni Storm. Athena bounces off of the ropes. She lands in the powerbomb position again, and then she manages to do the move in very smooth fashion. So yeah, this match was really fucking good. I think this is the second best match of the show so far. Yeah, I think it's better than the Jericho versus Claudio one. Just a lot more happens here, and the finish wasn't botched. Or it's less apparent. But then we get the post-match segment, and it ruins everything they were trying to build up. It ruined an awesome storyline with Jamie Hayter and Britt Baker, and this just left a bad taste in my mouth. I hated this fucking decision right here. So as Toni Storm is celebrating, Britt Baker attacks her. She gets her heat back, and then Jamie Hayter goes in for like an apparent save. Like she seems to go for the save. But then she swerves us and then attacks Toni Storm. I fucking hated this. Terrible storyline decision. How the fuck do you make this mistake? Did you listen to the fucking fans who cheered Jamie Hayter? They fucking loved her. But now they turned her heel again. What a stupid fucking decision. I fucking hated this. Oh my god. Is Vince McMahon booking the show just to piss off the fans? Just like how he did back in the WWE. Because it seems like he is. And so if they left it like this, I would have fucking given this like a 0, like worst segment of the night. But then we get the debut of Saraya. They managed to save the segment with a fucking debut. And I don't know how to feel about this one right here, since she has an injury history, and it's been a long time since she's wrestled. I don't know what she can do, so maybe like after her first match, maybe we'll see. But if we go on her like potential of what she can do in AEW, it's like big. She's the proto-horsewoman. She paved the way for the 4 horsewomen. She was the best wrestler they had when all of the women's division was shit. So yeah, if they can get her back to that level, this is like an S-class signing. But if she gets injured, just like CM Punk, I don't know about this. Maybe don't put the championship on her right away. But yeah, awesome debut. It pits her against maybe Serena Deeb first, and then Jamie, and then Britt. So it's like high-profile feud right away. So she literally has a chance to save the AEW women's division. Even if I think it doesn't really need much saving, since you have Athena and Serena Deeb right there. But yeah, great debut. Hopefully she gets some of like the fighting with my family fans onto AEW. Hopefully she boosts the ratings or something, but yeah. And as for the score of the match, I'm giving it like a TV main event, pay-per-view undercard match. People need to chill on this women's division. So yeah, after this is the Darby Allin segment. It's like a cinematic video of him bringing this body bag with the body inside it all the way to Arthur Ashe. And so I guess Darby and Dexter Lumis have the same gimmick. I guess they're both serial killers now. But yeah, it's a very movie quality video. And I think what could have put this over the top would be RJ City as the cab driver. So yeah, this is to set up the Sting and Darby against Buddy and Brody, the remains of House of Black. They're gonna have a no DQ tag match to main event Rampage. And I think this is finally the one that I'm gonna watch. I swear. It's a 1 hour show and I can make a review of this like super fast. And plus we have a Pro Wrestling Noah wrestler debuting there. Or like making his return. And spoiler, it's the Great Muta. He's in his retirement tour and he might have one of his 5 matches in AEW. With the last one being at the Tokyo Dome. Okay, so after this we get the graphics for Rampage. And it's a 2 hour show, so yeah. It's gonna take a longer time to make, but I'm into the matches. Plus that KG Muto appearance. We get 8 fucking matches in the show. Holy shit, I have to review this now. So yeah. And then finally, for the main event, we have Jon Moxley versus Bryan Danielson for the AEW World's Heavyweight Championship. And before I start, I just have to say that I really love the match. It's like top 1 of the entire night, if you just base it on the match quality. But if you factor in the stupid fucking god-awful fucking decision of having Moxley win the title, this has to go down. By how much? I'm gonna rewatch the match first. So after rewatching the match, nothing beats it. It's still the best match of the night. It has everything. It's paced like a main event, but they don't go too slow. It's very hard-hitting. It kind of feels like a Pro Wrestling Noah match. We get a lot of hard strikes at the start, especially from Danielson. And he does this like kicks to a seated Moxley. And he sells it alright, but it won't be as good as how King Tani sells when he's being kicked. Because the guy kind of looks annoyed and then he gets right back up. Fucking awesome. But what they do here is alright. Danielson and fucking Noah would be amazing. But it would be bad for his health, so never mind. Maybe New Japan would be enough. But yeah, as this is all happening, MJF is on the stands and is like a constant reminder, a specter over everyone's head, the sword of Damocles, that whoever wins this match is eventually going to lose the title to him. It's an inevitability at this point. So I hate that we're constantly reminded of this as we're having the match. So after 10 minutes of this Pro Wrestling Noah routine, Danielson finally works on some limbs, and then he delivers an awesome Busaiku knee where he lands on Mox's head after the knee. And so after Mox kicks out, I don't know if this is on purpose, but he then goes for Danielson's head, starting with like a counter that makes Danielson land on his head. So he jumps from the top turnbuckle and then Mox like stops it from happening, but then Danielson lands on his head. And then to make the fans a lot more uncomfortable, after Mox tries to go for the ankle lock, he then does like a capture suplex and makes Danielson land on his head again. Close call, but thankfully it doesn't look like he's injured. And then I fucking hate this spot. The back scratch spot is so stupid, especially when he does it in like doggy style. That's like the worst thing in Mox's arsenal. And then not satisfied, in almost concussing Danielson twice, Mox tries to go for like a superplex. But then Danielson counters and then he delivers an avalanche backdrop and he tries to concuss himself, but thankfully fails. And then we get one of the indiest spots of the entire match. I think I've seen Will Ospreay do this, but we get this spot where Mox and Danielson are upside down, with their legs tangled up to each other. It's a bit of a complicated way in how this is set up. It almost comes out of nowhere. But they then have a slap fight while upside down, while doing headstands. And then an MMA mount, and then finally a cattle mutilation. And after Mox escapes, I would just like to express that I fucking hate the Blackpool Combat clubbing of the neck area. It's a corny move that never looks good. It's just something the Blackpool Combat Club do for some reason, and yeah, it's not my thing. It always looks so fake. And then I hate how much we get shown MJF. Again, it reminds us that he's gonna get the title at the end. And this is all just to decide who drops it to him. But yeah, Mox goes for the Death Rider. Danielson like shoots him up. He goes to the corner, dodges a clothesline, and then hits a Busaiku knee again. Mox kick out. And then the match reaches the final gear. It intensifies a lot more after this. And I think that's what's missing in some of the matches a while ago. It's also what's missing in most of matches. Because we get Danielson kicks. Like he gets a few off, but then Mox blocks the last one. It takes Danielson down. It gets him in a prone position, and then Mox goes for a fucking curb stomp. And then the crowd pop, of course, Seth Rollins, blah blah blah. And then he goes for a Death Rider 2 count near fall. Biggest pop of the night so far. And this match is real good and all, but it's missing the legit hate that was present in the CM Punk match. That one was just awesome. They didn't even need to do a lot. They just worked on each other's cuts. As well as eyes, it was all grimy and shit. It was like a street fight. While this one is more of a wrestling match. That is a bit limited to what they can do. Given that they're both baby faces, they're not bleeding, and they don't go intense Kenny Omega, Kazuchika Okada level. So yeah, we get a triangle choke by Danielson, Mox counters it into a powerbomb, and then Danielson counters this to a label lock. And I honestly thought this was going to be the finish. This was the right way to finish the match. Just have Mox faint and give Danielson the championship. But it doesn't happen. Mox reaches the ropes. He rolls out of the ring. Danielson goes up of the top turnbuckle. Goes for an outside dive, and by outside I mean on the ramp. He's still not scared off of that time where he fell in between the ramp and the ring. Thankfully that area is closed off now because Danielson goes for a diving knee. Right to that area. Nice callback, but he misses. Danielson goes for a Northern Light suplex, but this puts him in position for a Death Rider, and Mox hits a Death Rider on the fucking ramp. And I thought he dented it. I thought he dented the LCD ramp because there's this part of the ramp that's dented. But it was a part of the LCD, the video projection. And we just get the loud thud. Mox throws Danielson back in and then pins him. Danielson kicks out, but it's over. Mox goes for a rear naked choke and wins the match via pass out. Let's get to the spots of the match. So for number 3, it's Danielson's Busaiku knee where he lands on Mox's head. This looked perfect. I also like the camera angle since it's right behind Danielson and we clearly see him land on Mox's head. Or look like he landed on it. Spot number 2 is the upside down slap fight. And spot number 1 is the finish. Guys, just a Death Rider to the fucking ramp. Of course this is number 1. And Danielson even sets himself up. So yeah, perfect finish, but not perfect booking. Because Mox should not have won. This match is a pay-per-view undercard only level match. But I think after further deliberation, the tag team match was better. The MJF shots were a bit annoying, and we don't get enough time for Jon Moxley to celebrate. We don't even get the shot where Danielson puts the belt on him. It just fades to black and then show over. So yeah, I really don't like the booking here. I don't like who won the match because you telegraph this even before the tournament. At the Dynamite after the pay-per-view. Why even have the tournament if you're just gonna spoil it right at the start? It's similar to the 6-man tag team championships. They do it again right here. Tony Khan spoils the ending, but this time on TV. I think Mox could have gotten his vacation even if he lost the match here. I think Danielson going up against MJF would have been perfect. Because we could have MJF just trying to take out Danielson forever. He could go for Danielson's head and then slowly eradicate BCC. He starts off with Moxley, sends him to his vacation, and then Wheeler's next, and then Danielson's next after he takes the belt, and then Claudio is the only one remaining. With Wheeler as an on-screen character, and then have Danielson go out with a kayfabe injury. I think that would have made us feel more than if Mox faces MJF. It would make the MJF win feel a lot more special. It would get him more over. But the storyline's better with Danielson. So yeah, I really enjoyed Grand Slam 2022. I hope it gets over 1 million in viewership. But the booking decisions were just like super dumb. It's like Tony Khan went out of his way to book his stories like shit. It's like he remembered everything he watched when Vince McMahon just gave a shit every fucking week a few years ago, and then applied it, and then some. So yeah, here are my match rankings. Stay tuned for my Rampage review, and hopefully the Pro Wrestling Noah Grand Ship review. Depends on when Hospital Duty starts again. I really want to review that show, as well as my Rings of Power and House of the Dragon reviews. So yeah, like, comment, and subscribe for engagement, share if you do not know me, hit that bell notification for future videos, and please, watch my shit.